Central with Burt Barron on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. From politics to entertainment, from social issues to lifestyles, from newsmakers to pop culture. If it's Jersey, it's on Jersey Central with Burt Barron, 732-545-9282. Or toll free at 888-545-9282.
637, we're back on Jersey Central on the new Talk Radio 1450 WCTC, the voice of Central Jersey. Contest on the way again, the Wayne Newton tickets, the Pantages Diner cheesecake. Later on this morning, you're going to have a chance to come on by and see the Somerset Patriots Championship Trophy. It's going to be on display in our lobby beginning at 9 o'clock, and we're going to have some players from the Patriots here and some of the staff of the Patriots with me on air beginning at 8 o'clock to take a look back and celebrate their championship this year. And then the trophy will be on public display at our studios beginning at 9 o'clock this morning. Very cool. Joining me now on the Raritan Bay Medical Center Jersey Newsmaker Hotline, I want to introduce an author. He's also a former football player and coach who wants to talk about what's going on with the state of football, particularly at the amateur level. He's written a book called The Future of Football. And let's welcome in our guest this morning, Ranzel Kendrick, who was with us here on WCTC. Mr. Kendrick, good morning. It's Burt Barron. How you doing?
Good morning, Bert. I'm doing great.
Good to talk to you. Now, you're in Texas this morning, right?
Austin, Texas.
Football is a religion in the state of Texas, right?
I think they're about to make that official.
That's right, man. On a serious note, though, unfortunately, it happened here in New Jersey not too long ago. We had a high school quarterback suffer a massive internal injury following a hit, and he died soon after. And then there was a player from Washington State that also died in a game. What do we need to do, Coach, to make this game not only enjoyable for everybody, but as safe as possible for the players? What are a couple things that we need to focus on?
Well, I certainly think we do need to look at the impact that these kids are hitting each other with. But then on a more practical level, and I think that we need to look at revising how we allow them to hit each other at such full speed and maybe move towards more tackling without quite the velocity and the aggressiveness of those hits. But other than that, in high school, you have this gulf of safety standards where you have some schools with no emergency staff at all at the game, no ambulance at the game. There's no national governance over this.
Maybe that's what maybe we need, some kind of I hate to have the government or somebody get more involved when it comes to amateur athletics, but maybe the standards need to just be raised a little bit in terms of, like you said, about ambulances and whatnot. And just what about the violent aspect of the game? I mean, we see that players now, they're stronger, they're faster, they're meaner than they've ever been. But how do we keep the kids safe? Is it going to take some equipment modifications or some rules changes? Maybe something along those lines?
I think if we want to see the deaths go down, there have been 77 deaths in the past 20 years in high school. That's directly related to hits, but 172 that were related to typically heart or heat issues like heat stroke. That's 249 kids in 20 years. Yes, we do have to be realistic about looking at ways we can change this game, including rules. And one of the things that I'm really starting to, come around and agree on is that the impact of the blunt force trauma that these kids take without having, the right safety standards, governed by somebody. How are we going to do this? Maybe the parents can rise up, but I do think we're going to have to address these hits, and I think the game can be safer and just as exciting without the impact hits that we allow now.
Sure. How about the higher levels of football, Ranzel? How about the NFL and the NCAA? I mean, the high school ranks this is where the future pros are coming from, and the next great college stars are coming out of the high school ranks. And Texas, of course, a football player factory, and you're always cranking out some great athletes, of course, in the state of Texas. Can the NFL or the NCAA get involved at all and help make the game safer at that level?
Absolutely. And, they're starting to do some things. But first of all, the NFL finally admitted that they've known about this head trauma for a little bit longer than they've been willing to admit. So we're at the front end of admitting what we know, and we're also at the front end of knowing more because we're going to keep knowing more with the advances in technology helping us out over the next several years. So I think that's going to force safety into the game. You can't really – how safe is it to have two players 40 yards apart run directly at each other and hit each other full speed, or somebody looking up at a punt and catch the ball and somebody's run 40 yards and it just, clean his clock? you got to take some of these hits out of the game. And I know that people don't want to hear that. Personally, I love the hitting. I was good at it, and I think it's a great part of the game, but it's not a safe part of the game. And when you talk about the pros versus high school, I like that separation, Bert, because these kids are not adults. They need adults stepping in to help make the decision at that level. What the pros do, money's going to dictate part of that, but it still needs to become safer. And I think it's going to be forced on us by what we learn.
Yeah, I agree. Ranzel Kendrick is our guest this morning here on Jersey Central. He's written a book called The Future of Football, and it's about protecting the game and the players, of course, who are playing it. And here's a guy who's got a lot of experience. He's been a player. He's been a coach. He knows the game in and out. And says the future of this game really hangs in the balance. Are the next several years critical to growth and the sustainability of football in this country, Ranzel? Has it gotten to that point? Is it going to take one of the top NFL players to suffer some sort of catastrophic injury before people wake up and realize the dangers involved?
Well, I hope not. But we are. It is becoming more and more, a topic of discussion. There was a Sports Illustrated article called about bullying coaches and because they'll push you to do things that you shouldn't do. I played for a coach like that was out of his mind. He should have been arrested many different times. So I hope that's not what takes us there. I think what's taking us there right now is that we're discovering more about the dangers of these hits. These players are dying, the NFL players typically are dying in their early 50s, mid-50s. So how many hits can the body take? And for a kid, what is the age of impact? A kid's head grows faster than his body, so his body has to grow into his head. For a while, they're sitting on a pretty small little weak neck, and we're putting football helmets on those kids and sending them in to blast away at each other. They may weigh 100 pounds different. We need some regulation in the game for the youth especially.
Yeah, I agree. And there's nothing exciting, of course, about flag football or two-hand touch. I mean, they're great for the non-impact sport, but nobody tailgates at a flag football game, Ranzel, right?
Right, and rugby
right.
is a rough, tough sport.
Yeah.
Rugby is, but they tackle them. If you read about it, you have to grab the guy and take him down in your grasp. It's not about hitting. There are hits in rugby as the game is played, but just revising how you tackle for these kids, where you take that impact out, is something that we need to do. As a parent, I say that I didn't let my fourth son play football. I coached him in basketball.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you had a coach, and I'll use your words here. You said he should have been arrested. Were you you don't have to mention any names, but were you told to perhaps go out and play to deliberately injure players or do something unethical on the football field in your career?
I was not told to do something like that, but I'll give you one example of what he did one day. He ran out and got a guy crossing the football field that had been doing laps because he was just a third stringer, and just leveled him. Leveled him, then got on top of him. And his kid's sitting there looking up at him. He grabs his face mask and starts pounding away, bam, 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 into the ground, yelling in his face. Now,
wow.
Should have been in jail by nightfall.
Yeah, you would think so. Wow. Well, we want to keep our athletes safe, obviously, and we've got some legendary story programs here in New Jersey, Ranzel. The Paramus Catholic and the Don Bosco Prep and the Bergen Catholic, or national powerhouses every year. And we would just like to see the game grow and people stay safe and enjoy the game that much more as it kind of goes along. So your book, how can people get a hold of your book called The Future of Football?
Barnes & Noble, or just go to my website, thefutureoffootball.net, and you can order it there. It's probably the easiest way to get it. Or Amazon. I think you have to scroll down a page on Amazon for some reason now. I don't know why, but it's out there. And I have the pseudonym Zonko Bezerski Jr. because I was just kind of having fun with it, to tell you the truth. But also, he's half old school, half new school. So I kind of come at it from a half old school, half new school voice.
Awesome, real good, Well, terrific. Thanks for getting up so early and joining us here on the East Coast this morning. I really appreciate it. Congratulations on the book, and we want to keep football safe for everybody. So thank you for all you're doing, Ranzel. Okay.
You bet, Bert. Thanks a lot.
Have a good day. Thank you. All right, Ranzel Kendrick, my guest on the